We're doing it live. It's happening. All right. Have you been scammed by a trucker? Have you heard of all these trucking scams and shipping scams in the classic and collectible car market? Is it affecting whether or not you'll bid on Cars and Bids and P-Car Market and bring a trailer? We are going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to make some predictions and go over the predictions we made in the last episode. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. Yeah, it is. We are here. Welcome, everyone. Happy holidays. It's almost Christmas. My name is John Polnick, and this is Bid Nerds. We are coming to you live from the Downtown Container Park in downtown Las Vegas at the Rami Studio, as well as my partner, Michael Deeb. He's over there in San Francisco. How you doing, Michael Deeb? What's up?
I got robbed.
Did you? Oh, yeah. Where's all your stuff? What happened to your bookcase?
We're right in the middle of a little switch. We're gonna put the office upstairs and put the bedroom back down here. So I'm we're like mid scope, and today we're doing the show, and I thought I'm not touching that router if I can't get it to work again. I'm not dealing with that. So I figured we'll do the show and then we'll do the switch. We'll finish like moving everything tomorrow. But other than that, JP, life is good, man. Christmas is almost here, and kids are expensive, and what else can I tell you, man? Scammed by a truckers. What is going on, JP? I can't wait to hear you say this. I mean, I've been scammed by a trucker before, but that's what happens when you call one at 2 a.m., I guess. I don't know.
That's not a trucker. That's a anyways, that's a whole different story. Always check the size of the feet. Yeah. Ask our friend Jason Alter. He'll tell you a story about that. Okay.
What's up, Jason? Shout out.
There are a lot of scams going on right now. I'm sure you guys are hearing about it. But if you guys are in the car space, I mean, clearly when you buy a car from Bring a Trailer or P-Car Market or Cars and Bids or somewhere or any of these, it's a different world from what it used to be. It used to be when you bought a classic collector car, you'd go somewhere and look at the car and decide whether or not you're going to buy it. But now everyone's online. They're looking at all these online auctions, and they're deciding to buy a car. They might live in Los Angeles, and they're buying a car from some guy in New York, vice versa, all over the place. All well and good. Everything, I've shipped, I don't know about you, Dee, but I've personally shipped at least, a dozen cars over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've had surprisingly no problems. I've had them be late. Sometimes they can never seem to, where I live it's in kind of the downtown part of Las Vegas. So it's kind of a densely urban populated area. So it's kind of hard to get big trucks down here, but those are just like logistics issues. But by and large, I've had every car I've had shipped to me has been shipped to me, with one exception, with no real damage or anything like that. Nothing substantial. I've had some scratches basically on one car. And every car I've shipped to anyone else has always gotten there pretty much on time when it was supposed to, and everyone's happy. Okay, well, apparently they are a-changing in the shipping world.
Oh, no. What?
We are friends with multiple car dealerships here in the Las Vegas area and around the country. But exotic car seem to be the ones that are dealing with this the most. But so what the general rumor is that let's back up. When you buy a car and you call a shipping company, typically what those shipping companies do is they subcontract the actual shipping to an independent operator. So you've got some big company that says, hey, dispatch, right? Yeah, I think it's called Super Dispatch or something like that. And so they dispatch to the independent operators, and then they send out a guy with a truck, and he picks up your car and gets it somewhere. So the rumor has been that these guys are getting hacked. For instance, a very prominent dealership here in Las Vegas does tons of business all over the country. They sell exotic cars. Very reputable place. They had a Huracan that was supposed to be picked up. The lot porter and the sales manager, everyone was kind of aware that the shipping company was on their way and should be there shortly, imminently. to pick up said car. And sure enough, the trucking company showed up. Everybody's happy. Okay, great. Here we go. Ship the car, off and going. There it goes. See ya. That was very smooth. And everyone's having a cup of coffee, talking about the next car. And all of a sudden, knock, knock, knock. Yeah, I'm here to pick up the Huracan.
Woo!
Right, yeah. Uh-oh, we got a problem, right? Woo! So somehow these other guys are interjecting themselves in between, and they're getting these shipping gigs, right? And so that car is in the wind. I don't know if it's in Russia or actually what it sounds like.
It's on a boat.
That's another thing, right? So people are saying, and this is a little bit off topic, but the prevailing wisdom was, okay, these cars would get shipped to. Well, here's another thing too, right? A lot of times these cars go on a shipping. They'd be on the truck and it's gone somewhere, and nobody even notices that it's missing yet. So you think, it's going to Russia or China or
Asia.
something like that. Asia, yeah. But apparently, fake titles are a big thing these days, and fake VIN numbers have become such a big deal.
Wow.
Right? So apparently it's fairly easy to fake a VIN plate on things like Lamborghinis and other such cars. And faking titles, you can go on the internet and you can get a title generated. Think about it. When a car is manufactured, it's shipped to America, assuming if we're talking about a foreign exotic car, right? There's no title until that title is presented at a Department of Licensing somewhere, at your state. So you go to your Nevada or California or Washington or whatever, and here's my purchase, and then they create a title from that VIN number, right? So apparently there's a way to generate VIN numbers for cars. So people are stealing cars. People are renting cars and stealing them and changing the VIN number and having a matching title, fraudulent forged fake title created, and then they are selling these cars to people. People are buying them. People are getting banks and loan institutions to give them loans on said cars because they're legit. God, you go on Carfax and there's the VIN number. Okay, it's a legit VIN number that says that car or whatever. Now, the weird thing is that when you go to Carfax on some of these types of cars, you'll find that there's like no registration information yet, or there's no service record. It works best on young cars, cars that aren't very old, because you don't expect there to be many records when you go to Carfax. Wow. So like there have been cases. Our friend Lucky Lopez did a video about this just a little bit ago. He has one of his subscribers had a Rolls Royce of some sort, some $300,000 couple-year-old Rolls Royce. Bought this car from a dealership. After about 6 months, apparently the dealership went out of business, but he didn't know that. Whatever, he's driving around, he gets pulled over for whatever, and the cops impound his car and take it from him. They arrest his ass. They're like, "You stole this car." He's like, "No, I didn't. I have insurance. I have all these things." They're like, "Yeah, call your insurance company." The insurance company was the one that found out.
Ratted him out.
They were like, "Hey, this guy stole this car," and so now, not only is he out, he spent however many hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's on for the bank, and the insurance company won't cover it because the car is owned by someone else. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is what nightmares are made of. We all love cars. We love finding a deal. We love going on the auction sites. But what are we all doing to protect ourselves from this crap? Back to the shipping thing. So apparently the prevailing wisdom is that the dispatchers are being hacked, but that apparently is not the case. Apparently what's going on is that these trucking guys have some kind of basic license that's transferable. So they go out of business and then they sell that license. It's kind of like a taxi has the medallion or whatever. So they can sell those shipping company license or whatever to other carriers. So other carriers are going around and they're looking for these shipping companies that are no longer active or no longer in business, and they're forging their inactive numbers because then there won't be any contradictory active contracts out, right? So they just show up all of a sudden, we're these guys. So they're legit contractor numbers and they're getting gigs from so it is just an absolute mess out there. Have you guys heard of any of these shipping problems? or any of these other title scams? Have any of you had to deal with any of this? Let us know in the comments and in the Nerd Herd. If you're watching this live, definitely let us know. And again, shout out to the Nerd Herd. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us. It's awesome to see all of you in there talking. If you're new to the show and you haven't introduced yourself to the Nerd Herd in the live chat, if you're watching this live, make sure you do so. All the best people are hanging out in there. Way better the stupid host. Deeb, have you ever dealt with any of these scams in all the years of you?
All right, in 2014 or 2015, I worked at Ferrari of San Francisco, and when I arrived, the very first car that I had sold that was being picked up, I was giving a protocol of very explicit instructions on how to deal with the transporter who we didn't hire. And the gist of it was simply this, JP: when the truck showed up, I was to go around and get a photograph of the license plate on the back of the rig, of the hauler. I was supposed to get a license plate photograph of the truck itself with the cab and the driver. And then I was supposed to take a picture of the bill of lading that the guy had and get a photograph of the driver's license.
Wow.
All because within the year that I was hired, they had a car that was sold to a customer somewhere across the country, a used car. This would have been from Ferrari. And a truck showed up and picked it up, and nobody took a photograph of anything. And the truck drove off. And an hour later, the real trucking company showed up, and the car was gone, and there was zero recourse. So that had happened one time at Ferrari San Francisco. And then I used that through my practice to this day. If I am seeing a car that I'm selling onto a truck that somebody else has hired, I take all those photos and I send them to the client to confirm that their car was picked up by the person that they hired. If not, then they've got some sort of recall. And of course, you can make sure that the driver's license photo matches the sketchy European gangster in a wife beater and a gold chain when he's there.
Yeah.
You got the car for me, man?
I've definitely seen some operators that are like,
up all night,
definitely going straight to Ukraine.
The crank is real. Yeah, the crank is real in this one. But that was the protocol, and JP, it's an exact carbon copy of the story that you told that happened recently in your neck of the woods. This is something I dealt with more than a decade ago, and again, taking photographs doesn't prevent a theft, but at least gives the police something to start with should something terrible happen. But usually the documentation and the drivers and all these things will line up. Everything now is done on phones and electronically. The last car I delivered to somebody, that white 95 993 I sold, the driver came up and then he texted me a thing, and I filled all the paperwork on my phone. And then thus I had copies of it. So it all felt pretty good. But no system is perfect.
That doesn't do anything if it's a legitimate dispatch. If they have a legitimate shipping number that they've co-opted, it would be within that system, I guess. I don't know. Boy, it is just something out there. Look, the fact is, there's only one way to make sure that this doesn't happen, and that's road trip. Just go get your damn car. Anthony's with us. Anthony from Hoursmiths. That's what he always does. That's what I always do. That's the most fun anyway, and it's the safest, right?
Yeah. And shout out to Dimitri. Happy holidays from Sydney, Australia. Dimitri Ellerington is saying to the Nerd Herd, we could not be happier that Dimitri is joining us from the other side of the planet, just like Ross and all our fans. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Merry Christmas to all you guys. I hope wherever you live, you're enjoying the show and you have a fun, safe holiday. Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Ross. We are absolutely moved that you guys are here with us in real time.
For sure. All right, let's go over the predictions that we made on the last episode. And, when we see a car fail to sell, which happens pretty regularly, right? I wonder if there is any kind of depression in bidding because people are going, have you ever not bid on a car because you were worried about how you're going to get it? Was the car too far away? You just didn't want to go through the trouble of shipping it. You couldn't, our friend Chris Carbine, he has a dealership in, New Orleans, and he's buying and selling cars all the time. They're not cars for him, so he can't just go take a road trip if he buys a car from Vegas. He has to, have it shipped. So, especially when you got cars constantly coming and going. But that would be a cool way to own and operate a car dealership, I got to say. All right, let's get to the first car that we made a prediction on the last episode. Did this car need to get shipped anywhere? Let's talk about it. What are we talking about?
Not yet, JP. We are going to check in on the 1994 Porsche 911 Speedster by Evomax that our friend Sebastian from San Francisco suggested we take a deep dive on. JP, this car has one of the more interesting provenances of any of the cars that you and I have covered over the last 4+ years. Originally a 1994 911 Speedster, a rare car in its own right that was purchased by baseball star, San Francisco Giant Barry Bonds, Mr. I didn't know that stuff would make my muscles bigger, steroid abuser. He bought the car and then immediately took it to JP. Remind me who he had do it. What was the name of that company? Strosek. So he built a Strosek, sent the car to Strosek, and they built him a Strosek Speedster out of his Speedster. He drove it for a while. I'm sure the car changed hands a few times between Bonds and the person who bought it in 2021. But the owner in 2021 bought the Strosek, previously owned by Bonds, and sent it to Germany, where it was modified by the seller Evomax. Carbon Kevlar bodywork, Messian blue paint, which was a color change. But then they had already the M64 had been built when it was done by Bonds. He sent the motor off to be punched up to 3.8 liters, done by Andial. That motor is still in the back of the car. But then Evomax goes and addresses the wheels. There's a 6-speed manual. You got these beautiful big red brakes. It's got adjustable KW coilovers. And then like a fancy exhaust and a cream top, and then the 918 carbon fiber bucket seats, air conditioning, power, everything. The car is done. So take it or leave it, JP. You and I could wax philosophically about the things we do like and the things we don't like with regards to the design, but evidently and clearly a lot of money has been spent on this car, and I don't think that was in question. With that in mind, JP, it was impossible to find any comparable sales of an Evomax car in the United States. So we have nothing to base the value or the projected value for this car on. And I don't think, at least I didn't read, that any receipts were included in the listing. So we don't know what they spent. With that in mind, I thought that the number would have to reach $450,000 for this thing to stand a chance. JP, you took the under at $399,964. Classic.com suggests that a standard 94 Speedster is a $200,000 car, but there could easily have been $300,000 spent on top of that. So, John, I was not surprised that the car hammered at $440,000. The real surprise came that it failed to sell on 37 bids. So at $440,000, they weren't even within 5% or even, let's say, $7 or $8 or whatever the max number BAT cuts it off at. So they weren't even within the range of that number. My guess is that they're looking for $500,000 or more. When you consider that it didn't sell because it didn't reach, let's say, quote unquote, $500,000, does that surprise you?
Boy, that's a good question, because clearly this car is a spectacular, well done build, but this is one of those areas where, we've seen, everybody knows Singer. That is kind of like the ubiquitous resto mod, top of the line. Everybody, that is the pinnacle. That's what everyone's trying to be, including Gunther Works, that guy from Europe. It's not Runge, it's some other guy. Anyways, there's so many players. I mean, it's funny.
I know.
There's so many.
We keep
players.
forgetting his name.
Yeah, that people are trying to do this thing, and I think that it's like, if you look at the comments on this auction, this car's design sensibility was rejected. Just flat out, people are like, a lot of people agreed with my take, which was pick a lane. What are we doing here? Are we going forward or are we going backward? This just was like both. Okay, we're gonna have this really high tech, below the belt line kind of modern design language, like a current GT3, but above the belt line, we're gonna go backdate 60s style, turn signals and stuff. It's like, what are you guys doing? Which makes it say that, okay, if you're going to spend this freaking much money on a conversion, on some kind of build, You better have consensus that that the design that you're about to spend all this money on is something that pretty much everyone likes. Because if it's only you or a handful of people, you're probably going to be stuck with it. Much like the Strosek version that was before this. If this were a 2023 Strosek instead of Evomax, this would be the logical progression of the old Strosek design, right? If they were still in business, still making cars. The original Strosek design that this car was built on was terrible, was awful, and people didn't like it. There was a handful of people that spent a bunch of extra money, like Gambalas and stuff like that. But by and large, people they didn't hold their value because they looked goofy. This car looks goofy. I'm sure it's an absolute wonderful car to drive, and I would love to be behind the wheel of this thing. But $4.5, that should have bought this goddamn car. The idea that this car is going to be $1 million car plus, like a Singer or a Gunther Works is going to be. Sorry, pal. Nobody knows what the hell Euromax is. What do you think?
JP, I got to duck out for just a quick second. Introduce the next car. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, I'll wait to introduce the next car, but I can talk a little bit more about this car because I wanted to say that I was at our friends Gaudin Porsche and Gaudin Classic of Las Vegas this morning to help Rami pick up one of his cars that he had serviced there, and they happened to have a very recently done 993 RWB Coupe. This car was, I wish I had a picture of it to show you guys. It was bespoke. It had, it was the widest, most cartoonishly looking wide thing I'd ever seen. And it's been a while since I've seen a real RWB in person. And I don't know, maybe you guys can help me out. Is there a new kit that's even wider than the old RWBs? This thing was just like, it looked terrible. I'm sorry. I actually like RWBs generally, but this thing was just like, it was just so goofy how far apart these two fenders were. It also almost makes this Euromax car look sensible and reasonably wide and reasonably designed. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Anyways, let us know what you guys think of the results of this 94 Speedster by Euromax. I wanted to go back and talk about our friend Frank in the Nerd Herd. He just said that he had a car stolen off of a shipping truck. So it wasn't stolen by the shipping company. It sounds like, let's see here if I can find his. So let's see here. The car was picked up from a dealer in Murrieta, California. The trucker drove out towards Palm Springs, pulled off the highway at a large pull-off, shuffled the deck, I'm doing that in quotes because that's what Frank says, and took the cars off the truck. Someone ran up, jumped in the car, and drove off in it. The trucker reported it stolen and also called the dealer. That was around 2 p.m. 3 hours later, a Riverside sheriff deputy saw the car driving around with a dealer plate and no tag and pulled him over. He knew the dealer, so he called them to ask about it. Wow, that is a crazy story, Frank. Did you get the car back? Is that what that means? Does that mean that the trucker was in on it? Why would the trucker pull over to shuffle the deck? Was the trucker basically getting ready to deliver another car and he wanted to make sure the car that he was delivering was the one that was easy to get off? I don't know. Who knows? What a crazy story. Yeah, Frank, did you get it back? He said, okay, there's another thing. Frank says, found out it was stolen and arrested the guy, gave the car back to the transporter who took it back to the dealer. Interesting. Wow. Have you guys had anything? Anyone else had anything like that? Let us know. That is just absolutely nuts. Back to this Euromax. Jason Portman says he should have taken the money, and I sure agree with him. Yeah, it's interesting. The seller, interesting. I haven't seen sellers acknowledge just how much people were pushing back. Like they said, hey, look, this auction is clearly a rejection of the design sensibilities of this car. But we love it and we think they're great. And they try to justify everything. And okay, good on them. But I think they're stuck with it. So
yeah, you got a firm grip on it. Car's too distinctive. You know what I mean? Like that's a bad look for the first Evomax to FTS in the US. That's tough. It's an uphill climb for that guy and anybody else that might have one here. that is hoping to get off of it with equity. That's just
Yeah.
it's tough, man.
And it's not like anyone's going to steal it. You're not going to be able to collect insurance on it because it's like it's a car. There's only one, right? It's like it's going to be hard to sell it. Oh, that we were talking about that before we got back to the Evomax too. Is a lot of these scams we were talking about how we think they go across out to the ocean, but really it's just they're wrapping them and redoing the titles and just selling them domestically to people that are willing to buy them for it.
That is so brutal.
So brutal. So be careful out there. All right, let's get to some more results. We talked about this Audi. What's the next car on the list? Let's go over this one quickly.
We're going to circle back to the 22 Audi RS6 Avant that was on Bring a Trailer out of New Canaan, Connecticut. Our car is showing just 13,000 miles, which is pretty low miles for a 2-3-year-old car. These Audis are unbelievable wagons. The question is, do they hold their value in the secondary market? We're talking about JP at MSRP of about $130,000. Is that car still worth it? John, I thought the car would do well. My bid was going to be $106,000, and your bid was just under mine at $99,000. According to Classic.com, a 22 RS6 Avant in the secondary market is still getting $111,000. And I thought this car was a distinctive color and fair miles, and so it had a chance to break the $100,000. You took the under, JP, and you were the smart one of the two of us. Our car hammered for just $92,500. If you had asked me if it would have sold for that number, I would have said no, but I'd be wrong. The car sold for $92,000 on 25 bids. This is a guy who wanted to get off the car. I mean, again, I don't know a ton about these cars in the secondary market, but based on the evidence and that purple one that we were watching on the other platform, I'd say that car was really well bought, JP. Are you surprised that 92 got it done?
I mean,
and what's the result of that one?
So the purple one, I believe, got $103. So sold. 103 and sold. Yeah. So
on cars and bids.
Yeah. So I guess people are still buying these things. I don't get it. I don't know why you would spend this kind of money on something.
A used Audi wagon.
Yeah. It just yeah. I like this design sensibility. I like how these are great cars, but Audis depreciate horribly. The only Audi I would spend any money on would be an R8 because at least they kind of hold their value. But these things are just brutal on the secondary market. So,
that's an interesting take, the R8, because when you said the only Audi that you would think would hold its value or that you would buy or whatever, I thought you were going to say like a Macan GTS.
Very clever. I don't recommend buying a Macan GTS by Audi. That is definitely a piece of crap.
We've got one for you. Just call. Yes, if you're looking for one, we've got a really nice one for you.
Man, I hate that car. All right, guys. What do you think of the results of the RS6? Would you pay over $100,000 for
92? For 92, you can buy this one for 92. That's a good number. I think it was well bought.
All right, let us know. Let's move on. What was the next car on the list?
Two-car solution. The Bidner's got you covered. If you bought the Audi, we have a Jeep for you. We're going to look again at the 1983 Jeep CJ7 with a 304 cubic inch V8 under the hood. Our car is also on Bring a Trailer out of Gulfport, Mississippi. 140,000 miles shown on the odometer. But JP, the big news here is that they switched from the inline 6 and a 5-speed to the 304 cubic inch V8. And then when they did that, they made it to just a 3-speed automatic. And John, you and I, without question, would much rather have the 6 with a manual than the 8 with an automatic. And it's not that the V8 is a bad motor, but like, who the hell wants an automatic Jeep? This car was not restored. This car, you might not even call it refreshed, but it's just been updated with some cool wheels and paint and the interior. I think we both like the vehicle, but the drivetrain is not an upgrade over what this car was born with. The car ran no reserve, JP, and basically Classic.com says that a CJ is a $23,000 car. I went 17 for my bid. You took the over at $19,007. Our car hammered for a very weird number, $14,527 where it sold on 24 bids. Again, it run no reserve. Do you think that this guy got every penny that this car was deserving, or is there any chance that they left money on the table or would have done better in the spring or on Doug DeMiro's site? Is there any chance he could have got more for it than that?
Yeah, I mean, there is, but I'm with you on the powertrain stuff. It's interesting, they buried the pictures with full doors, which I like. Look, these cars are most, sexy. They're most attractive. They're most romantic with outdoors, basically naked, with the doors off and no top. That's just the way you want to see one of these. And I think that definitely helps sell it. With the full doors, definitely doesn't make it look as cool, but it would have been nice to have those in the mix a little earlier on in the mix. Because a lot of times you see these without any tops at all. And you're like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be basically just a summer vehicle. This is something that someone could drive all year. This picture here I thought was very interesting. So apparently the seller
now with livery.
Well, they bought this sticker package, right? Which is a factory sticker package. And you asked, did they leave money on the table? And the answer is unequivocally yes. They should have had this sticker, this decal set up
on
installed,
the car.
and on the car before they took the pictures of it. If you look at the listing, these photos weren't in the listing originally. They were added like a couple days before the listing closed. These stripes would have made this Jeep pop. It would have been that extra cool, and I think it really would have gotten people's attention. You look at it here, it's nice, but it looks as kind of bare. Everyone wanted this thing with a 4-speed or a 5-speed with a straight 6. That's the way you want this thing. But the V8 with the slush bucks, 3-speed, whatever, it's like, these things don't handle. These things aren't made for speed. These aren't drivers' vehicles. These are really to be driven around in the muck and the dirt and the snow or whatever, or on the sand. And it is better to have a manual for off-roading, for doing genuine off-roading. But this really is just like an island buggy or something like that. I love it, but the stripes would have definitely brought more money.
For sure. The strikes are so in style right now. You can go down to your Toyota dealership or your GM dealership, and they are throwing, what did you call them? Sundowner stripes or Horizon stripes?
Yeah, Sundowners.
Sundowner. Yeah. Great vernacular, JP. Good recall. But they are completely, as the French say, in vogue right now.
Yeah.
I agree with you, John. I didn't notice the photos that he had the stickers 100%. If he would put them on there, and that should have been your hero photo with the stripes installed. That would have done wonders. So there you go.
Especially that kind of 2-tone or 3-tone, the brown and orange with the gray that they really would have popped, like with some sunset photos. God, I just like, and then the little bit of orange in the interior. God, that would have looked good. It's just such a disappointment. It was such a big missed opportunity. I just dropped off my slant nose 911, my Kremer style 911.
Tell everybody what you're doing, man. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, at Posh Auto Styling, they're gonna do the Kremer style stripes. If any of you guys saw my film Ice Machine on Cars Unknown and Derfos Nation, I did it. One of the films I'm most proud of, one of my earlier films, was about a Kremer 935, and it was like this crazy green, and it had these 3-tone stripes that go across the hood, up the hood, down the side of the car, and then kind of up into the behind the window. All the DP cars kind of had a similar livery. The current 2019 Porsche 935, the Moby Dick car, we covered it a couple of months ago. Spectacular photos of that black one in Manhattan with the Interscope livery that
it's like pink, red, and orange.
Yeah, pink, white, or pink, red, and white. Really.
Yes.
So that's the colors I'm going to put on mine. So I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like. I've got status seats in there that are like Alcantara, like a dark gray black with the red, and then the red seatbelt. So I think with that livery, I think that should just make the car just really look. I can't wait. I can't wait to have it done, and I can't wait to shoot photos of it because it's just going to pop. It's going to be awesome. And then we're going to put it on BAT or PCAR Market or somewhere to sell it. Where do you guys think I should try to sell a Frankenstein slant nose LS3 V8 swap 500 horsepower and monster car? Should I do it on BAT, or do you think people are going to rip it apart, or should I put it on PCAR Market where all the weird stuff goes? Let me know what you guys think. Give me some advice out there, nerd herd. All right, did we cover one other? No, that was it. All right, let's go to commercial. Let's go to some commercials, and we're going to be right back with predictions. So we are just getting started, guys. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas and Gaudin Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Gaudin. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. Man, the nerd is telling me P-Car Market. That's going to be interesting.
They want to see you grovel for a listing. That's why.
I'm going to have to record that phone call. Yes. Yeah, I'd like to list my car at P-Car Market. Yeah, right.
I bet if you called P-Car now on their listings thing, there's somebody would answer. You'd get a live body.
What's your name, sir? Tappity, tappity. Oh, it says here. Gotta be in the P-Car Market database. Next episode, I'll wear my P-Car Market hat and T-shirt.
Yes.
Like that. Do you recall?
When
was it?
Start pandering now.
We went to, was it Works Reunion or something? I think it was some Monterey. We went to some party somewhere, and it was like everyone was like, all right, dressed like the worst PCA member you could possibly dress like, and we had our P-Car Market hats and our ill-fitted P-Car Market T-shirts and our tucked into our khaki shorts and socks. It was a look, man.
Pleated
vibe. Pleated shorts, exactly.
Pleated
wearing
and defeated.
the tube socks unironically, right? Gerd is texting me asking me if I got the car sorted out. Yes, your guy really helped me out. Thank you for that. Gerd, that's the thing. The Nerd Herd always knows the people to go to. I had some technical issues with the car, and he hooked me up with an LS swap guy.
JP, Gerd's a GM guy. You should let him drive that car. He'd probably get a kick out of it. Might get Gerd off his wallet,
He's a hybrid like the car is, because he's a general manager at a Chevy
Corvette store. I'm sorry,
and
General
he
Motors.
owns a 911. So Philip says, throw my car in the chum bucket. Come on, Phil, no love. What the hell, man? Jeez, I thought we were like strong out here. You guys are harsh. All right, okay, guys. A lot of shipping scams going around, a lot of scams in general. Is that affecting how you guys are bidding? Do you think that's playing a factor at all? Or are people just not even aware of how crazy it is out there? Is this shipping something you've never even heard of? We're going to talk about that a little bit as we discuss our predictions. Let's get to it. What's the first car we've got to make a prediction on the list? What do we got, Deep?
All right, JP, we have technically 4 cars teed up. So we're going to try and whip through these so we can get to the fourth car. So our good friend, Zach Miller, formerly of Cars and Bids, now a strong independent, has brought to market his first 2-comma car, JP, 7 figures. This is $1 million listing for Zach Miller. Way to go, Zach. What we're talking about is a 2023 Rimac Nevera Time Attack model that is currently listed on Sotheby's Motorsports live auction online. So Zach's car essentially closes tomorrow, and it has been listed for probably more than a week. But this 2023 Rimac is being brought to market by the actual seller, Graham Rahal Performance. And Graham Rahal dabbles in really special cars. Zach has become friends with them and gotten at least partial of the account. And Zach is now representing some of these really cool cars that Graham dabbles in, and is bringing them to his favorite place to list, which is Sotheby's Motorsport. Our car is a Time Attack model, and while I don't know much about the Rimac, I do know that these are electric supercars, 4 permanent magnet electric motors that bring essentially, JP, and I'm not even sure if you knew this. Let's brush up on your electric car knowledge. 4 motors bring 1,914 horsepower to the party, but it doesn't stop there, JP. We're talking about 2,340 Newton meters of torque. Don't get out your calculators. I did the equation for you. That's essentially 1,725 foot-pound of torque. I don't know why they call it the Time Attack model. They should just call it the Rami Mirza package. This thing sounds insane. The only thing missing is an exhaust note. take it or leave it on your supercar styling. A lot of these new cars all look the same to me. If this didn't say Rimac, or if I didn't know it was a Rimac, I would just assume it's another new McLaren. It is distinctive, with its lightning green accents on both the wheels and the lower part of the body. It is a pretty car if you're into supercars. But do we take electric supercars seriously? And that is the question. The gist of this car, JP, is simply this. I could not find on classic.com or Haggerty or even Bring a Trailer a single comparable sale result for a Rimac Nevera, let alone a time attack version. I do know that these cars essentially, Rimac Neveras, essentially cost around $2.2 million at MSRP. I would assume a time attack or a special edition probably adds another 10 or 15%. So you're talking at least 2.5 million new for this car. It's now almost 2 years old. It has been driven to the tune of 1,800 miles, which is probably more than any other Rimac in the United States. And now it comes to market with no comparable sales for context. So JP, it will be a little bit like closing your eyes and throwing darts in a crowded bar, but we're going to have to throw darts in a crowded bar to come up with a guess. So my first question to you, JP, you and I are not really supercar guys. How much worse is it when this thing doesn't even have an ICE engine? And then again, a big tip of the cap to Zach. Congratulations on a fantastic account that they're trusting you with something so valuable. I hope it does really, really well. It is at a fairly decent number as it closes tomorrow. JP, the current bid is $1.2 million. So I don't think this thing is going to it's not going to lose face. Does that make any sense? You know what I mean? So anyways, I serve it up to you, JP. Electric supercars. Huh?
Yeah, this thing will definitely do better than the Euromax, right? Yeah, congrats to Zach. Great
Evomax.
job on the or Evomax, whatever the hell, the who gives a crap max. This, again, congrats to Zach. It's great. This car is for someone. It's definitely not for me. I know it's not for my partner. I don't know who this car is for. You mentioned our friend Rami, or my partner. Rami's definitely the kind of guy that could afford something like this, and the kind of numbers from a performance point of view that it puts down definitely are on par with what he likes. I don't know, in good conscience, I don't even want to let him know it exists because I don't want him to Richard Hammond this thing. I think it's, not only are we not really supercars deep, this is a hypercar. This isn't even a supercar.
Yeah.
Right? This is way
right. Yeah, you're right.
So it's just like, there are people that want this stuff. It's a Haktua coin car. This just has Crypto Bro all over it. I don't know how these are going to hold up in value. I do like that it's different in the sense that it's rare. Like, okay, there are $1 million Lambos and $1 million Ferraris and that kind of stuff. And those tend to be, you see a lot of them around. At least this is the kind of thing that you're just not going to see. You're going to go, if you go to an exotic car show, it's probably going to be the only one you're going to see. Whereas you might see, a dozen SF90s or something. So I just can't relate with the person that wants this. And I don't know, like, at $1 million or $2 million, or really, it's going to be $1.5 million, $2 million, really.
Yeah.
It's CGD, Carrera GT. Like, this isn't even on the radar. Even if I had that kind of money, even if I had that kind of budget, this just doesn't look, I can't tell the difference between this and the latest McLaren or, concept car that Mercedes has or whatever. They all just look like they're just, at some point, somebody's got to do something different. I do appreciate what this car is. I do appreciate that it is actually something different from your typical hypercar, but I just don't think it's different enough. I mean, honestly, I'd rather just have a Lotus, one of the new Lotuses.
Evora.
Evora or whatever, no, not Evora, an Emira.
Emira,
something
yes,
light with a Toyota Camry engine and 3 pedals.
And a manual,
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. It's tough for me to make a guess on this because I just can't relate, but what's it going to bring, Deep?
All right, JP. So our car, as I mentioned, is currently at $1.2 million. And I want to give a quick shout out to Gary Lee, who's saying that the new car price for this is $3 million. The 2.2 that I came up with was the base price for just a Nevera from 2023, which would be essentially 2 model years ago. But thank you, Gary, for chiming in with the $3 million. I bet that sounds right. Our car is at 1.2. It has had 23 bids. So again, these listings, Ray Hall is providing Zach with studio photos, which I think go a long way when you're talking hypercar and $1 million listings and that sort of thing. So, and then it's attached to Sotheby's, who's handling, to a degree, the transaction for you. So I just don't think it really gets any better than this without going directly into a live auction, which is probably another option for a car like this to go. But anyways, JP, I'm just guessing that this car was probably $2.5 million. This was, according to Zach, the first car that Rimac brought to market. And so this might be one of the early cars. JP, I think it has every chance, with all it has going for it and everybody that's involved, to hit $2 million. So I'm going to say $2 million, and it sells. Like you said, there's optimism out there, although my crypto's down 10% today, but that's whatever. I still think, going back to what you've been sort of saying, is that there's a little optimism in the market with the election and the market. And, we're right on the cusp of a new year and the age of Aquarius, and I live in Marin, and here we go. 2 million and it gets sold. Christmas comes early. Where you at, JP?
When does this close?
Tomorrow. It's
got
23, 23 bids, and it's at 1.2.
Yeah, I think people are not out of work yet. I think tomorrow is going to be a tough day. Well, tomorrow's the perfect day, actually, because tomorrow's Thursday. People haven't checked out yet. I think Friday, if you have a listing Friday or this weekend, you're screwed. I don't think anyone, I think everyone come Friday is in Christmas mode till, and I think that some cars might sell after Christmas and before New Year's, but right now, everyone's getting ready for the holiday. People are still at work. They're trying to wrap everything up. They're not going back to work Friday and until probably January 2nd. Thursday is going to be a good day where people are still going to be at work. They're still going to be in front of their computer. There's stuff like this will still be top of mind, but by Friday, they're out. So, I'm going to have some big hope for our friend Zach and say, I just don't know. I'm going to say 1.8. I think that's optimistic, but I just don't take my word for it. I have no idea. I hope the thing brings 2.5 million. Again, it's on the right platform. It does look great. It is presented the way it's supposed to. For the person that wants this is the right platform. We've talked about Somo before. Somo isn't a platform that I like, and that there's a reason. They don't want me there. Somo does not want me even dinking around on their site. They don't care because I'm never going to buy anything, and I'm not their customer. So I think this is great. It's perfect. Keep the riffraff like me out. The people that want something like this are paying attention, and good luck to Zach. All right, let's get to some more predictions, and it'll be interesting to see what everyone in the nerd herd thinks. Looks like my bid is on par with where everyone's at, kind of like 1.6 though.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, most of it's above 1.5. I saw an earlier bid that was at 1.3, but everybody else seems to be 1.6 and up. Good luck, Zach. All right, JP, I selected for us a 1976 Datsun 280Z. That is a 4-speed manual car with apparently 40,000 original miles.
Wow.
That is currently live on Bring a Trailer out of Statesville, North Carolina. Now, JP, in November of 2020, this was an early BAT listing. And this car was bid to $28,000. At that time, it had 39,000 miles and some aftermarket wheels and some pretty, just typical cell phone shots. And it didn't do well. It was bid to $28,000 and it FTS. But now the car has, it looks like it's just been like really cleaned up and slightly made over and put back with the original style wheels and the correct size tires. And this car looks absolutely gorgeous as a untouched original car, and these are much better photographs this time around, and I think the car is going to do really, really well. So it's an alumni listing, but not as a sale. It just ran before, and I don't think that's going to really hurt it because clearly the car has been looked after and some money has been spent and a lot of care and love have gone into it, and I think this car is super attractive. There's lots of nice 240Zs out there, and 240Zs range because they're in all types of conditions. We don't see 260s or 280s nearly that much, and certainly not in this condition. So I just wonder, does the 280 in this condition with this good a listing stand a chance to bring, sort of quote unquote 240Z collector money. I think I would sort of bet on this car. So JP, I serve it back to you. Tell me you don't look at this car and be like, oh, damn, I want to drive that thing. Come on. You know you want to drive that car, at least for a day.
Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, this is the way sports cars are supposed to be. These were totally overlooked when, this was the sports car that a lot of my friends actually had back in the 80s when I was in the high school and in the 90s and stuff like that. These were very affordable. So it's hard for me to think of one of these as something that's not just like, oh, there's a $3,000 or $4,000 car. That ship has sailed, right? This is going to be worth way the heck more than that. And I kick myself for not appreciating them more back in the day. Interestingly, this is from a time back when we all used to like Datsun and Nissan. I mean, they really had amazing stuff. They were the David to the Goliath in the 70s and 80s. They were making really cool cars that were fun to drive, that were reliable, and they didn't break the bank. So it's interesting what's going on with Nissan now. It's too bad Nissan doesn't make anything even remotely as cool as this now. They did try with their 400 ZX, which I think is pretty much failing. I like what they tried to do with that car by offering it with a manual, but I just talked to someone. Apparently, they're not bringing it. Only the first year ones are manual, so the new ones aren't going to have a manual. That was the only appeal of that car. They based it on the same 300 ZX. Or I'm sorry, the 350 ZX platform from all the way back in 2003, a car that's frankly heavy. And then they made the 370 Z, and now they make the 400 Z with a big turbo engine. So it finally has enough power to push that car around. And with a manual, it's got to be a lot of fun. But now they're not going to offer it with a manual. I mean, what the hell are they doing over there at Nissan, guys? Interestingly enough, I don't know if you heard the news, Deep, but it sounds like Honda is bailing Nissan out. It sounds like Honda is going to buy Nissan. So the second and third biggest automakers in Japan will now combine forces to be the second biggest. They're still not big enough combined to get anywhere near Toyota's size.
Right.
But all that said, will that help cars like this, a classic car? I mean, it definitely bodes well to being able to get parts for stuff like this. It's got to be difficult now, but at least as long as Nissan stays in business, there's hope. I really love this car. This car seems to me like a great car for a little bit of a livery too, like a Sundowner Stripe or something like that. But what's it going to bring, Deep?
All right, JP, super cool car. The one thing I do know, and I'm not a big Japanese car person, but these cars have a cult following. And so even if Nissan went over, I think that the Datsun 240 or the Datsun Z crowd would find a way to continue to source parts to keep these cars on the road. JP, I'd say this car stands up pretty good. Let's talk about a 1976 Porsche 911S with 175 horsepower. This has a straight six with a 4-speed and makes 170 horsepower. This is a hell of a turn car if you couldn't have afforded the Porsche back in the day. And no wonder these cars were a success in the United States. Again, as an alumni listing with 2 days left until it closes, JP, according to classic.com, a 76 280Z is still a $24,400 conversation. Our car is currently at $24,000 with 2 days left until it closes. That $24,000 comes to us by way of 14 bids. So the car is getting some good early love. But JP, I just really like the presentation here. I like the colorway. I like how clean it is. It's important to remember that in 76, the 280Z came as either a 2+2, which had a very small back seat like a 911 or a 308 GT4 Dino, or it came strictly as a 2-seater. Our car is clearly a 2-seater, and those, I believe, are worth more. With that in mind, and the presentation, and just the current market, and again, that optimism, JP, I think this car is going to double from where it is until Hammer. I'm going to go $48,000 and it sells. JP, 48,000 to you. What's your bid?
Wow, that is the spirit of optimism. I like what you're thinking, Deep, and I'm with you. This car is in beautiful condition, and 911 SCs are $50,000, $60,000. And this is the kind of car, I don't think it's going to get to $50,000. I think this is a good alternative to something like a 911, which is what they've always been. So it's going to have to be a little less than that. I'm going to come in at 42. I do think it's going to break 40. This is one of the nicer ones we've ever seen. And with the two-seater length, these are so much better. Most of these 260Zs you see are 2+2s, which makes them what they call a limo Z. So they're a little longer and they just look terrible when they're stretched out a little bit. But this car being a little bit shorter, you look at this, you have to kind of look twice to make sure. Wait, 240 or is that a 260? Oh yeah, it's 260. Okay. So this is great. I totally want this thing. Oh, I'm sorry, 280. Whatever, same difference. So yeah, boy, this. God darn, this thing is clean. Look at that headliner, guys. Has that been replaced?
It's gorgeous. The
That
car
is
is gorgeous.
amazing. I really want to be in this car. All right, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And will the person that buys this car just drive it home? That'd be the thing to do. Then they don't have to worry about shipping it and getting scammed. What would you do to get this car home? Would you drive it or would you ship it? All right, what else we got, Deep?
All right, JP, let's try to rush through two cars. So we're going to start with a
quick.
2008 BMW Z4M Coupe. Again, this was an alumni listing in April of 2021. The car was sold for $37,000. At that time, out of Rockville, Maryland on Bring a Trailer, it had 32,000 miles. Beautiful car, nice colorway, all black interior. There's nothing not to like about it. The car has come back to market, now showing 36,000 miles out of Encinitas, California. The car looks to be in good condition, fair miles, and M cars are kind of hot right now. But we're seeing sort of vintage M3s bring ridiculous money. These are superior cars in every performance measurable category possible. And yet I think these cars can be had for kind of a deal. So JP, our car closes tomorrow. What do you like about the Z4M Coupe?
I mean, how is this not a modern 280Z? It's got the long nose. It's got all the horsepower. It is a giant killer. I have always loved these cars. I'm very strong on these. I think I've had a couple in the past, but they've always been roadsters. I think this is one of the best looking sports cars ever made with the swoop back. It's just very clean, simple. The S54 engine is just bulletproof and provides all that silky smooth power. If you just change the nose on this and put a Nissan badge on it, this is what the 370Z or 350Z should have looked like, not the abysmal 350 and 370 and now the 400. What's it going to bring?
All right, JP. So our guy bought it in the spring of 21. He put 4,000 miles on it, and he's brought it back to market. It previously sold for $37,000. It's currently listed at $24,750, and it closes tomorrow. JP, my bid is $36,000. I think it's going to do basically what it did last time and sell. What's your bid?
Oh, man, do I go over or under? I'll just be the curmudgeon that I always am, and I'll go a couple thousand under you. So what's that put me at, 34?
34, yeah.
These are soft, man. These are great cars.
They are. Great deal.
And I think they're the best bang for the buck. 300-plus horsepower for under $40,000. This thing is so much better than a 997 or a 996. Yes, those are cooler cars, but there's no sort of Damocles hanging over you with an IMS failure or a, bore scoring that plagues those other cars. These have there's a couple of little problems with them, but it's not a terribly the rod bearings, but you can get those repaired for way less money than an engine failure like you're going to have in a 996 or a 997. Let us know what you think of the Z4. Are you strong on these? Do you think it should have been the 280Z from BMW? Let us know in the comments. And we got one more car real quick. What do we got, Deep?
All right, JP, our buddy Chris Carbine is currently selling a 2016 Porsche 911 Turbo S. This is a one-owner car with just 8,000 miles in a beautiful and, let's say, very unusual Guards red paint job. And on top of that, on top of being an S and low miles, the car was treated to a factory aero package when it was ordered brand new. So a beautiful red car with a glass sunroof. It's got center lock wheels. You've got a black leather interior with carbon fiber trim, red stitching and red face gauge. But again, Guards red is super rare on turbos, let alone a Turbo S. And this car has unbelievably low miles. It's just under 8,000. I think at the time of photography, it was like 7,800 miles. So a stunningly beautiful car. These cars are actually a little bit soft. This is the last year for the .1 Turbo S, but we're still talking like 550 or 570 horsepower. These things are absolute rockets. JP, 0 to 60 in like 2.8 seconds, and all you have to do is floor it. Any words on the Turbo S? I mean, I know we like the older cars where you could get a manual, but like if you had to drive a PDK, is there a faster car that Porsche makes than this thing? You know, what do you think?
These are just, oh my gosh, these have always been of value. It seems like they just didn't catch on for whatever reason. Maybe the people say they're too soft, or and all that just seems like rubbish. You just put it in Sport Plus mode, and these things tighten up, and I mean they're just bonkers fast. And I mean, for half or less the price of a brand new one, and frankly, no one can tell the difference. What year is this car? This is a 2013?
2016.
2016. Okay, so fine. It's a 2016. Drive this down the road, everyone's going to think it's a brand spanking. Nobody can tell the difference between a 992 and a 991. It's just going to blend into the, wow, that's a baller, badass looking turbo 911. It's got that big hole in the side. I even have to look. I have to squint. I have to like, okay, is the grill square or round? Okay, it's a, look at this rear wing. With the red and the black on top of it. I never noticed the forward sweep of the wing. I've never noticed that.
That's the aero kit. That's the aero kit.
That is a dope looking wing on this. I like the black accents and everything.
Specific wing in the front and specific wing in the back, which is kind of the equivalent of like, remember when the 996 came out with the aero kit, the .1s had the tacos. Yeah. These have bespoke flair to them, and the wing is it, JP. The wing is absolutely the aero kit.
You represented a 997 Turbo S recently.
.2 Turbo S.
.2 Turbo S, which is kind of like, that's what people want. But that was a PDK too, right?
Right.
This is a lot more luxurious, a lot more room inside, maybe a little quicker, bit less flickable, but way, way faster. What's it going to bring, Deep?
All right, JP. According to Classic.com, 991.1 Turbo S is a $124,000 car. Chris Carbine's car needs a little love, guys. If you know anybody that's looking for one, it's currently at $55,000 on just a few bids, if any. And it closes I think it closes tomorrow, right? Am I reading this correctly? Yeah, it closes. Oh, it starts on December 19th. Okay, forgive me. This is a little preemptive. So this car's not going to close
we're covering
tomorrow.
It too soon. All right, let's not even talk about numbers then. We'll cover it again.
Well, we'll come back to it. I previewed it. I read December 19th and thought it closed tomorrow and thought it needed a little love. So that's a tease, and we'll do a little deeper dive on it in the next show. But thank you, Chris, for sending us that car. And everybody, that's a show, man. We'll see you one more time before Christmas, right?
Well, let's hear. When is today is, are we going to do we'll do a show Sunday. That'll be our Christmas episode. That'll be our Christmas extravaganza. Then Wednesday is Christmas. It'll be Christmas night.
No show.
So we probably won't do a show Christmas night. So there it is, guys. We do have one more show, and then we'll probably do one before New Year's. So we'll see you a couple more times before the end of the year. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We are going to take it out with blowing up a 914. If you guys haven't seen this video, stick around to the end of this. And then we will see you guys Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Oh, hey, one other thing I wanted to mention. I keep forgetting to do this every episode. If you guys are still there, if you haven't clicked out, all the cars that we've talked about tonight, go on to the listings and say on the listings in the comments that you saw Bid Nerds talk about it. Please do that. I want to remind everyone to do that. And if you're a member of the Nerd Herd, get out there and tell everyone else to do that too.
Take the URL from YouTube and post it in your comment on the relative listings. They'll love that.
Damn straight. See you guys Wednesday. Go.